So, when it comes to genealogy, finding records can be a challenge. Well, my friend, if you're in this boat, then this is for you. The biggest question we try to answer when contemplating records is, does a record exist for the time and place of interest, and where the heck is it? So, how can you go about finding records? There are different reference materials available that can help you, but the Family Search Wiki, which is available online, is a great tool. And personally, I consider it my on-call research assistant because I can head there any time of day and find all sorts of goodies that will help me with my research. So you can utilize the wiki to study a location and its records, as well as learning more about different record types that you might be unfamiliar with. So let's take a peek into the Family Search Wiki. So from the Family Search homepage, you would come to the search menu and choose Research Wiki. And this is the homepage for the wiki. And as you can see, you have a world map. You can do a search. You can list all the localities, or you could choose a continent. And for the purpose of this video, we're just going to go ahead and choose North America and scroll down to the bottom for the United States. And for whatever reason, it does not pop you to the top of the menu, which is where the entire country, the United States, is listed above all of the states. So we're going to click on the United States, hop into that, and you get to this page, which is all about U.S. genealogy. So there's a lot of different things on this page, and the state pages and county pages are also similar. But I just want to call your attention to the fact that you can drill down further using the map or the list down here of the states or territories or former territories, and drill down all the way down into a county. And we'll look at that in just a moment. I do want to call attention to this blue button that says U.S. Online Genealogy Records. You will find that, or if you are in a state or a county, you'll see the state listed. So if you're in Oakland County, Michigan, you'll see Michigan Online Genealogy Records. If you're on the Michigan page, you'll see Michigan Online Genealogy Records. And this takes you to a table that has a listing of all sorts of records by type. So church records and vital records, and then they're broken down even further. In this particular instance, births, baptisms, christenings, marriages, deaths, burials, etc. And a lot of times you can click on the link and it will take you to the collection. And just note that anytime you see one of these pages that has the online records, it is not just for any family search collections. This contains records all over the internet. So for example, and sometimes it will say, like here it actually says, it has a $sign, so you know that it's going to something off of Family Search. But sometimes it'll actually say where it is, whether it's on Ancestry or MyHeritage or wherever it might be. One way to tell is when you hover over these links, and when I move my mouse to show you, it will disappear, but I'm just going to drag you down to the location where you can see this. So it's in this lower left corner. So I'm going to drag down here, so you'll see it down here, okay? So if I hover over a link, right, now you see down in that bottom left corner, it says MyHeritage. So you know that this particular link is going to take you to a MyHeritage collection. This one up here was for an Ancestry collection. And by the way, this Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, Church Records, is a great collection, and that is on Ancestry. Just a little plug for that collection of images. So you can use this page to find online collections. But I'm going to go back to the general U.S. page, and we're going to drill down into Illinois. And again, we have this blue button. In this particular case, it's Illinois Online Genealogy Records. It looks very similar to the other page that we just saw, so I'm not going to show that to you right now. And you can drill down into counties either using the map or using the listing here. And then you can just explore some of these other things on the page. So let's say that I am trying to figure out if there are probate records for the 1930s in Kane County. So I can choose Kane County from the map, or I can choose it from the list here. Either way, it will take me to the Kane County Illinois genealogy page. And here is where all the really good information is. And you'll find good information on the state page too, but a lot of the records that we're interested in are typically in the county level. Not always, but they sometimes are. And so this is where like the meat of a lot of this stuff is. So over here is this table of contents, and this is for everything that is listed on this page. Now, there's also some information here, like the county organization gives you known beginning dates for major county records. So according to this table, death records started in 1878. And then there's a note here that statewide registration started in 1916 and were generally compliant in 1922. And then there's some historical facts, there's some boundary change information, notes on record loss, and then you have a listing of populated places, which is sometimes helpful, although that's not what we're getting into today, but just know that there's some other information on this page. And then it starts getting into records. So I'm going to scroll back up here and look at the contents. And so we just kind of covered these top few, and then we get into this number 6, which is records and resources, and then that's broken down further. So we've got biography, cemeteries, census, etc. Now I said I wanted to know if there were probate records for 1930 in Kane County, so I'm going to click on this link for probate and just know that these record types are in alphabetical order. So when I click on that, I get this section of probate record information, and I can see that there are some online indexes on records. Here's some probate facts for Kane County. So in 1993, the Kane County Circuit Court microfilmed the probate and guardianship packets and gave the original packets to 12 county historical societies. Okay. And that the court retained the microfilm copies. Great. Okay, dates started in the late 1830s and include some as late as 1970s, and I'm assuming that it's talking about these 36,000 probate and guardianship packets that were microfilmed and then distributed to these 12 historical societies. I think this section could be rewritten to be a little bit more clear, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is because I actually know about this. So I know that I'm pretty much know that that's what it's trying to say. It just doesn't do a very good job of saying it. At any rate, now that I see there's also an index to Kane County, Illinois probate and guardianship records. Great, that was published in 2003. And it can be found in genealogy libraries. Great. And actually the Family History Library has it because here's the same book, and it's got the catalog entry linked here, so I can go look at that. And then there's some listings of different looks like different collections or different bits of information for Kane County. So we have 1819 to 1970, Illinois probate records, family search. So there's a bunch of different things that you can explore. So cool, it looks like there were definitely probate records and they're probably available because it doesn't say anything about record loss or anything like that. So it looks like we're in good shape. Sometimes you'll find even more details. So I'm going to scroll through here and see. Okay, so naturalization facts for King County. So it talks about 4 courts process naturalizations: the Aurora Court, the King County Court, the Elgin Court, and the King County Circuit Court. Well, that's helpful to know, because in that way you know you could be potentially looking at 4 different courts. And then there's just some more information here. So the wiki really does have some great information. Not only does it direct you to online collections, like we see here, we have these naturalization records, and this is actually a film, and it will take us to that catalog entry. So I'm actually going to click on that just to show you. So it brings me to this catalog entry, and you'll notice here that it's just the microfilms, and it looks like they are digitized. And I do have a key above them, and I think that's because I'm not logged in. But I'm not gonna log in. I'm not gonna waste your time. That wasn't the point of this. It was just to show you that it can take you to different places. And then there's 1840 to 1950 Illinois Northern District Naturalization Index. It looks like this is also on Family Search. There is declarations of intent that are through the IRAD system, that is part of the Illinois Archives system. So it takes you to that particular website. There's a few more that are like that. So anyways, I just wanted to show you that, if you're looking to learn more about the records in a location, this is a great place to start. Drill down to the county when necessary. The state level is fine for certain records, and of course you can use the country level as well. And just know too, you saw, I'm going to go back to the wiki home, you saw here that there's a world map. So this is not just US based. If you are looking at a particular country in Europe or South America or Africa, Asia, there's all sorts of things. You just kind of drill down to the level that you need and learn about the records. Now I'm going to go back to the US records just because it's easier. Of course, there we go. And I want to call your attention to this over here on the right hand side, and you'll find the same thing for other countries as well, and even for states. So if I kind of take a mental snapshot of that, and if I click on Illinois again, you'll see something very similar with these record types. Okay, so I'm going to go back to US. But know that if I was trying to learn about church records in the US, if I did the same church record link on the Illinois page, it would give me information on Illinois church records, not US. So just know that it is bound by whatever page you're on. So in this case, I am going to, let's choose naturalization and citizenship. That's always a big topic, right? So now you come to this US naturalization and citizenship page, and there's a beginner's corner. And usually most pages will have a beginner's corner or something to that effect that kind of gets you started, or getting started, sometimes it'll say. And of course this blue button for online records, in this case it's US naturalization online records. So let's click on that. And again, you see this kind of table. And in this case, it happens to be broken down. So this is kind of in general, US naturalization, US passports, alien registrations. And then it's broken down by state. And I don't know if there's anything else down here at the bottom after the states. Nope, just passport records and some collections here. So these are all online records. Again, if you hover over and look in that bottom left corner, it will tell you, like this one, for example, is going to the Missouri Secretary of State. That's what the SOS.mo, it's Missouri Secretary of State website. So just explore, right? I'm going to go back to this main page, and you can learn all sorts of information. You can learn about naturalization from 1790 to 1906, and it'll go through what the process was, how it was handled, naturalization after 1906, and naturalization since 1906. So there's all sorts of different bits of information. A lot of the portions will explain kind of what the law was at the time and what people needed to do to qualify to apply for citizenship and start the naturalization process, things like that. And you'll even see here, like there's exceptions to the process. So this is like a main entry here, and there are little insets here for children, women, military. Not really sure what these two things are, but there were exceptions for children, women, and military, and so that can be helpful to know. So if you click on women, you can see that in 1855, derivative citizenship, obtaining one citizenship from another person, was also available for immigrant women marrying U.S. citizens, or if their husbands obtained their citizenship during their marriage. And then in 1922, citizenship was no longer available to women through marriage. So, and you can go on to read more. So this is really helpful if you're unfamiliar with records, how to use them, why you might want to use them, what governed the records. Like in this case, you know, in 1922, when citizenship wasn't available to women through marriage, this is a time period where women might have sought it on their own. So there may actually be naturalization records for females in this time period. So there's just things that will help you understand why records were created, how they were created, where they're going to be, how you're going to find them, all that kind of stuff. So just kind of scrolling back up here to the top. Again, you can do this for all sorts of record types. We're still in the U.S. wiki topics, and so the sidebar is here, and you can see that naturalization and citizenship is black here, so it's currently where we are. But if I wanted to look at church records, I could click on that. And same thing, just different types of information. So it's really good to get an understanding of how records were created, why they were created, what were the circumstances behind them, what types of information they might include. So some of these wiki articles will get detailed, especially when you get into the state level. They'll give you details on what you can expect to find in like a death certificate, for example, sometimes even down to the time period, because things evolved, right? We had death certificates really early on that didn't really have a whole heck of a lot of information, and now you might as well be signing away your children with it because there's so much information on our death certificates these days, right? So some of them get that detailed. It just kind of depends. Not all pages in the wiki are created equal. Sometimes you will find a ton of great information. Other times they're a little scarce in what they provide. But regardless, the wiki is a great place to get started. You can come here 24/7. Like I said, it's kind of like my on-call research assistant. This is the first place I go whenever I have a question. And in fact, I was actually looking for that naturalization. It wasn't on women, it was on minors. And I did find part of my answer there, and I had to go somewhere else to get the rest of it. But sometimes that happens, and that's okay. But as a starting point at 2 in the morning when you're in your PJs and really want the answer to that question, this is a great place to start. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time.